able to join it. Chaeli, and you just there you go.
Cool. Hi guys. So I am super excited to be a part of a conversation like this. I think that we at the Chaeli campaign, I think we're very conversation oriented, and most of the things that have happened in my life have happened because people have had random conversations on pavements and like pivotal moments where you just have to connect with people and see where that goes. So I think to kind of contextualize me and our work and how we exist within the sector, I thought it would be, we thought it would be a good idea to think about how our work has evolved over the years, because Chaeli campaign is, we turned 18 this year. So we're all grown up now and still learning how to do anything. And it really, I think it's quite beautiful how we've grown and how we've evolved, because it was really an organic process. I think we started with a conversation about, maybe we should get a motorized wheelchair, and how are we gonna do that? And we made a plan for that and got the wheelchair, and kind of realized that in getting the wheelchair for me, that there are other needs that exist, and thinking about the things that I need as a disabled person, and kind of molding programs around that was where we started. And it sounds kind of, or it could be interpreted as like selfish to be like, oh, we're gonna solve all of my needs first. But I think I've been raised in a way that my mom always said, I'm sorry if I'm stealing your thunder here, but my mom always says that when you raise empowered children, you're creating more work for yourself, because we kind of expect more. And I've been raised to have expectations of myself, because expectations have been existing for me from other people. And so our starting point is, with any other disabled person, is that people are endlessly capable. You just have to find ways of supporting them to be what they need to be, to the extent that they can do the things. And I think with that in mind, that's how our programs work. And so we do the assistive devices, but when you get a wheelchair or any kind of device, you need support for those things. You need therapies, and you need to be comfortable in your body so you can effectively use the assistive device. You need people around you to be educated and empowered and informed, so that they kind of enable you to use the things effectively. And then you have to have advocacy. Advocacy is like the name of our business, essentially, because the world is not made for disabled people, and it's not made by disabled people. And so we have to work harder to make sure that we get the things that we need and the things that we have a right to. And so at the Chaeli campaign, we really believe that everything that we do is rooted in rights, that we have the right to have access to anything that non-disabled people have without questioning it. And so I think that's where our that's where the passion comes from, because it's actually about it's gonna sound like big now, but it's actually about justice. That like we're all here living on the same planet and we all have the same kind of we all wanna do the things. We just sometimes need more help to do the things. And so we're here to empower disabled people to know that they are worthy of the things, and also to find strategies to make things happen. And I think what's interesting for myself as an activist and as a disabled person, and also representing an organization, I think there's a lot going on there, and it can be hard sometimes. It can be hard to be a disability activist because you're promoting the idea that everything is possible and that you just have to be solution oriented, and sometimes you don't feel that. Sometimes you just want to be in your bed and not do anything and wallow for like 8 minutes while like when there's no power and you can't charge your wheelchair for 3 days because the load shedding schedule is like all over the place and you haven't had power for 18 hours. Like, that's not a great place to be, right? And so I think it's been quite an interesting journey for myself, just kind of figuring out how to navigate that and balance the positivity with the reality of disabledness. And I think it's interesting because people always think that when you're being realistic, that's a negative thing. Like, oh, let's be realistic. Like, let's bring it down to earth a little bit. But I don't think that being realistic is necessarily negative. I think it's in how that reality is presented to you and how you kind of approach that reality. Because my reality is that I am a disabled person living in South Africa. There are many people who would view that reality as a really impossible thing to experience and like work around. But I also feel like I'm a deeply patriotic South African. I think we have our drama and we have the issues, but every country has issues, and I think we just have to figure it out. And I think we, as the Chaeli campaign, are actually we're a part of that solution, because our constitution says that we all have the right to equality, we all have the right to basic education, we all have the right that we're fighting for through the Chaeli campaign. And I think the people that we have here as well who work with us every day are phenomenal human beings, and I'm very grateful that we have them and that they keep fighting the good fight with us, because sometimes sometimes it can be a lot. And I think one thing that's really great about our work is that people are comfortable enough to share their journeys with us. And we don't want to just we don't want to just give a wheelchair, be like, hey, thank you, have a good day, Sally. Like, that's not how we work. We're very deeply invested in the people that we help, and we want people to be as invested in what we do and support what we do, and make more space available to disabled people to share and to exist and to breathe. And yeah, I think that's something that's really underrated is giving people space. And so that's very cool that you're doing that with these chats, Louise. I think it's very cool to give space to different people to share. So I'm gonna stop talking
Chaeli,
now.
before you pass on to someone else, can I just feel now that I have a great privilege because I know a lot more about your story than many people on this call. So can we do a quick, for those people who know nothing about you and only seen, the Chaeli campaign. So I'm going to try and ask you a few questions to just make sure that everybody's on the same page. So you were diagnosed with cerebral palsy at what age?
Yeah, I forgot about my whole disability diagnosis. I do that sometimes. So I was diagnosed with cerebral palsy when I was 11 months old. I got my first wheelchair when I was 3 years old. I've never been able to walk independently. But that's okay. Like I don't need it. It seems like admin, and walking would not be the most efficient way for me to get around. And I'm all about efficiency. So
there you were, 11-month-old, mom and dad discover you are cerebral palsy. How would you say? Do you say you have cerebral palsy, or you are a?
I think I say I have it. I have CP. Or I'm not super nitpicky about the language around it.
And you have a no-nonsense mother called Zelda, who does not pander to you being disabled. She kind of get on with life. I'm not going to treat you as if you are broken. We're going to treat you as if you have a bright future, and we're not letting you kind of feel sorry for yourself as well. That's what I'm reading between the lines if I see the two of you together. So then you had quite a clumsy wheelchair, and then one day you discovered that there is something called like an electric wheelchair. How did that happen? Tell us that story.
So I went to see e-mobility, love those guys. And we were fixing my manual chair and like a cushion or something, and they had like a Chaeli sized motorized chair, and I hadn't seen those before because they were really expensive, and they were hard to get to South Africa for a long time. So they arrived and we were like, cool, let's go test this out. And I tested it and it was awesome, and we couldn't afford it. And so Marta is the manageress. She asked if I was a brownie, and so I was like, yeah. And she suggested that we sell cupcakes or cookies or something to raise the funds, and so that really ignited the thought of like, oh, we can do something actually, we can make that happen for ourselves. And I think that what's very cool about it is that we were, so it's me and my sister and our 3 lifelong friends, Taryn, Justine, and Chelsea. We were supported in that action, and I think that's a really important thing to bring up as well, is that we could have been like, oh, let's go do this, we're gonna raise 20,000 rand, it's gonna be good. And the grown-ups around us could have been like, you know what, let's aim lower, like let's just
Okay.
calm down, you know.
But so,
and we didn't have that, and I think that's the fact that we didn't have that in the beginning, I think, is a really, really important thing that led us to where we are now.
so you were how old were you when you actually
I was 9.
9. So at 9 years old, the 5 of you then managed to get the money together to buy your electric wheelchair.
Yeah.
And that then led to many other people benefiting, because you realize that actually if we could do it for you, maybe you could do it for other people as well. But just again, because I know you're going to hand over to Debbie or Weto, before you do that, I want to just let everybody know on the call that Chaeli then got through high school, not without its challenges. There's been some big challenges. Again, read the book, because then you can get the whole story. But then Chaeli, this is the piece that, so I got to know you when you were still at school, but then you went to university all by yourself and got how many degrees?
I have 3 now.
3 degrees.
Yeah.
So I mean, honestly, that's the moment where I go, oh my goodness. And not only do you have 3 degrees, you've done ridiculous things. So I think it was Mary Jones who said earlier, I mean, honestly, Mary Ann. So you have climbed Kilimanjaro, you have run the Comrades Marathon many times, you have been on horseback, you've kind of really taken this idea that Chaeli can do just about anything.
Yeah.
But serious. So just tell us a little bit about your kind of beyond the Chaeli campaign. Just Chaeli as an adventurer, as a person who does things that other people think is not possible.
Yeah. So I think it's an interesting situation, because I think I'm quite motivated by negativity. I'm very much, if you say I can't do it, I'm gonna be like, cool, let's go do that then. I think it's the stubborn side of my personality that won't admit that I can't do things. And it's been quite interesting, because I think I have fun doing that stuff. I think it's important to go out and do the things and challenge the perceptions and all of that, like advocacy stuff. But also it's just a good time. Like, I think what's interesting to me is that if I was not a disabled person, people would be telling me to calm down. Like, people would not be thinking that I'm this incredible human being who like beats the odds and things. I would be that annoying friend who's like, let's go do a Lion's Head hike at 5 a.m. And everybody would be like, relax, we're not going, we're sleeping. So I think it's interesting that my disability has given me this the platform to promote active living in a cool way. But I also think you have to recognize that I can't do any of the stuff that I do by myself. And I always have ridiculous people around me who are like, yeah, we can go do that. Let's go do that. And that's really special, that I have relationships with people who who say yes to the crazy ideas. And what I'm realizing now is that sometimes it's also okay to not do the things. I can believe that anything is possible and also not want to jump out of an airplane. I feel no need to do that. I think there's an element of kind of doing stuff to prove that you can do it more than an example of this is my PhD, because I started a PhD and the pandemic happened and like a lot happened and it's paused now. And I sort of realized in that whole 2-year process that I was more motivated by, in the PhD specifically, I was more motivated by wanting people to see that I could do it and proving that I could do it and get one and have one than me actually deeply within myself wanting it right now. And I think that's also a really interesting realization to come to, that because we have this idea that I'm like the positive Chaeli who can do anything, it's kind of like it's a big deal to come to a point where you say, actually, I don't need that right now.
Okay.
And we can do it.
So Chaeli, I just want to, because I know you wanted to hand over to someone, just want to let everybody know that, so you, the founder of the Chaeli campaign, then you went off to do all this kind of studies and accumulate degrees. Yeah. And then you returned to the Chaeli campaign, and now you are the fundraiser, or how do you describe, what's your role?
So my title, I guess, my new title is Manager of Relationships and Funding.
Manager of Relationships and Funding. So it's with, so you are now speaking with us. I can see Zelda. Zelda, I don't know how long you're going to hold on to the CEO job, but for now, Zelda is still the boss and Chaeli is the employee.
You can keep that job for a long time.
You can keep that job for a long time. You don't need that job either.
I don't need it.
Okay. And so in your role as Manager of Relationships and Funding, who do you want to introduce next?
Okay. So I'm gonna hand over to the beautiful Owetu. Owetu has been with us for what feels like forever, but you were there at the very beginning as well, just in a little different space. So I think, yes, Owetu. Hi.
Hi. Thank you, Michaela. I hope everyone can hear me. I do tend to speak softly sometimes, but I'm going to try to speak louder. So, yes, my name's Owetu. I work for the Chaeli campaign. I'm a community worker. So back in 2004, when I was 19, I had my first interview with Zelda Mycroft. I'm saying the first interview because we've had 2 job interviews together. I met Zelda and Chaeli, and I started working as Chaeli's facilitator. Chaeli was doing grade 4 at Sweet Valley Primary School, and Debbie Prudhomme, that you see on the call, was Chaeli's teacher at the time. So my relationship with Zelda and Chaeli is very long. You will notice that I speak a lot, and I would like to blame Zelda for that because I've been with Zelda, for a long time. During the time, so basically what I did was, help Chaeli with provide my hands, basically help Chaeli with things that she could not do for herself at the time, like getting books out of the bag in classroom, or you know, stuff like that, whatever she needed at the time. So we did that together at Sweet Valley Primary, and moved on to grade 5, 6, 7, and I was with her at Berkeley Primary for the first 6 months. And then I moved on to work for a headhunter. And then in 2010, I rejoined the Chaeli campaign at the time when the World Cup was at its top hype. We were wearing soccer jerseys to work. We were blowing vuvuzelas everywhere just to greet a neighbor. It was a fun time. So I thought, good time to go back to the Chaeli campaign. So yeah, I've been here since 2010. And at first I was helping therapists to communities, basically to translate for them and to provide extra hands, and yeah, do some observations at some schools and feedback to Zelda and the therapists. Just before that, during the time that I was with Chaeli before, when I was still a facilitator, I also had a baby, my baby girl, my only child, who's now 15 years old. I probably thought I was very good at this mother and kill thing, being Chaeli's other mother. So I thought I should try it for myself. I'm not sure how it's working out. But also during that time, I managed to study educare through College of Cape Town, which Zelda was very, very insistent about. And in 2015, I got my diploma in educare. So in 2011, a year after I joined the Chaeli campaign, Zelda came to me and she said, it's time you facilitate ambassadors. I wasn't sure about that because I'd seen how she did it and I had no idea how to facilitate anything. It was just, I don't know, I felt very nervous about it. But I started with a Chaeli group of ambassadors, which had 45 to 50 children in it, and was overwhelming at first. But I think Zelda did her best to make sure that I was learning and you know, providing support and education for the children. So that's when I started with the Paid Forward Ambassadors group, program, which is one of the 2 programs that I work in at the Chaeli campaign. So I do the Paid Forward Ambassadors program and the inclusive early childhood development. For ambassadors, what we do, I now facilitate 5 groups. It has grown over time, but what we do through that program is educate and upskill children aged between 9 years and 14 years. And we help them become active social leaders and social entrepreneurship. And basically, during the year that each child is with us, they have to learn skills, figure out their passion, and use their passion to build something for somebody else or do something for somebody else. And that can become that can be a once-off project, or it can be an ongoing project that they will then manage going forward. So that's one thing that I do at the Chaeli campaign. The other thing I do is I work at ECD centers. And before this year, I've been going to ECD centers with a therapist who, what we do was we identify children who are at risk, children with developmental delays and learning barriers, and our therapists would then refer those children to organizations that could assist. So if a child needed to go to a special school, then we would refer, or if a child needed to go to a health institution or a social institution, whatever was needed at the time. So, well, whatever is still needed, because we still do it. So that's what we do. So during our in-class, we basically support them so they can reach their developmental milestones. So we spend a day in each preschool a term, which means then we go to each preschool 4 times in a year, and we work at 48 ECD centers around, well, in 4 communities basically, because we work in Philippi East, which is Lower Crossroads, and we work in Brown Farm, also in Philippi. We work in Ocean View as of this year. We also work in Masipumelele. So what we do in class is we meet with the teacher first and we tell her what the activity we're doing today and what is the aim, what are we hoping to achieve, and what are the skills we hope to give these children or build with these children today. And then we do our activity for the day with the children, and then we have a feedback session with the teacher where we also kind of help her understand that she can use any other resources to continue with the work that we did today, because the aim is really just to help children gain skills. So it's the skills development, and it's also just the assessment and referring to where the child needs to go. The other thing we do through our ECD program that I work with is we hold parent support workshops with the parents of the ECD children, where we, with what we find in class, the challenges we find in class, we then bring those challenges to the parents and say, most children are struggling with this, and we think you could help at home by doing these activities with your children, so that by the time they get to school, they're better prepared for the preschool setting. So we do that with parents, and after each session, we give parents some resources like pencils, crayons, scissors. We give them a kit with all dough and stuff, like anything that they would need to help their children at home to prepare the children for preschool. And basically, at the end of the day, we want the children to be ready for formal schooling, whether they're going to mainstream school or special school or whichever institution they need to go to after preschool. Our job is to make sure that they are ready for wherever they are going to go after preschool. And through our ambassadors program, like I've said, we have five main competencies. We teach children to be confident in being themselves. So we teach them how to be the best me, how to be themselves and be confident in that. We teach them to communicate effectively and efficiently. We teach them leadership skills. We teach them leadership skills. We teach them to be activists, to have ideas and know how to fix things, but also do it themselves and not expect that someone else will fix their social challenge. And we also teach them social entrepreneurship, which for me, because I only do primary school children, it's basically learning to fundraise for a cause for someone else. So Zelda does the high school version, which is a little bit more advanced than what I do, but it's basically we just want children to understand that they are their own people, they are individuals, they know things, they can do things, but they can also do things to make their societies better. That's what we do through the social entrepreneurship program. Also, this, I don't do this anymore, but back in 2012, because I just want to say something that, so back in 2012, Zelda also approached me. Zelda, you know, she will make you do things. So she came to me and she says, all right, you are a beautiful story writer and you're very good at storytelling. So how about you start a newsletter for the Chaeli campaign? So I looked at her and I thought she must be crazy, but you know, if Zelda asks, you will do. So of course, I didn't know what to do, how to do it, but again, she was there, she was giving guidelines. So in 2012, I started this newsletter for the Chaeli campaign, which would feature on the front page a story of a mom of a child with a disability, telling a story of their child and the child's disability. That was a big thing for me back then. It was literally why I came to work, because then you would go and interview this mom and you would learn about this mom and this child and how they got to have a disability and how they've been managing from birth to now, whatever the age the child might be now. And so we would write these stories and I would send to someone to translate to Afrikaans, and I would translate to Xhosa, and we would have 3 versions of the same newsletter, which we would then distribute to different communities, which was a good educational way for communities to learn that the children that have disabilities in their communities can, you know, be assisted in this way. They also want to be included. So that was a good inclusive thing for me. But of course, as things go, we are not so high in print these days. We are moving on to digital. So someone else is doing that now, but she's doing it online. So that's just one thing I thought might be worth mentioning. So in 2021, last year, I approached Zelda this time. Yes, she didn't come to me. I went to her and I said, you know what? I've been doing ambassadors. It's been fun, but I am an educator. I am qualified as an educator. How about we do a child version of the Pay Forward ambassadors? So, of course, Zelda was excited. She named it the Bambino ambassadors. I call it Inzana ambassadors because Inzana means babies in Xhosa. So, yes. So what I do in that program is my main idea was to teach the children basic skills, you know, skills that are not taught in class. Things like kindness and patience and respect and stuff like that. So Zara gave me a go ahead, and I approached the principal at Bongoletu Primary School in Philippi, also in Browns Farm, and Bongoletu was on with it, and we started. They are the most beautiful children. I don't know, might be because I work with them, but it's similar to what we do with Pay Forward ambassadors, but also it's just edited version, like for the lesser people. Also, instead of social entrepreneurship and leadership, which we do teach them, but only in a different way, we do. Today, we're going to talk about sharing. And then we talk about sharing, and we read a story about sharing. And then we talk about how this child in the story did that. And then we do an activity to practice sharing in class, so that they know what we're learning about and they can practice it, and they can go out and do it. And for after every meeting, we have homework that says you go home and you practice sharing, and then you come back to the next meeting and tell us about it. So yes.
Thank you so much, Oweta. I'm conscious of the fact that we've got a whole bunch of people on the call and we're not hearing their voices. So I just want to open the mics a little bit in case anybody wanted to comment or say something, and you literally can just unmute yourself and then we'll hear from you. So before we go to Debbie, just anybody else want to say anything? Because Debbie, we're going to come to you in a minute, but anybody else want to just comment or ask a question or respond to what you've heard from Chaeli and Oweta so far? Just keeping my eyes open and to see whether anybody wanted to respond or participate, or otherwise we'll just go straight. We'll continue because then we're going to hear Chaeli. You're going to hand over to Debbie now to tell us what's happening in the preschool. But so many amazing people on the school, and I just want to make sure that we do hear their voices in case they wanted to say something. But it doesn't look as if anybody's wanting to say something at this moment. So Chaeli, over to you to introduce us to Debbie.
Cool. I just quickly also, I think it is highly underselling herself. But here we go. Okay, so Debbie has also been involved forever, and I'm super excited that we get to work together now, as well as not just having you as my teacher in grade 4, but continuing to where we are now and doing beautiful things with the kiddos next door. So Debbie.
Oh, thanks, Chaeli. Yeah, so as Oweta said, I taught Chaeli in grade 4 at Sweet Valley, And that's where I met Alwetu as well. So yeah, Zelda will tell you, once you're part of the Chaeli campaign, you kind of stay with the Chaeli campaign, which is absolutely beautiful. So the Chaeli campaign started when Chaeli was in grade 4. So I've been part of the Chaeli campaign since the very beginning. So for the first few years, I resigned. After the year that I taught Chaeli, I gave up mainstream teaching, and I thought I just wanted to stay at home. I'd had enough of teaching, but that didn't last long, because then I said to Zelda, I'd really like to be part of what's happening. And I started doing some work for the Chaeli campaign out in Ocean View. And I did some programs and things that are on our website about inclusive education. And when Zelda spoke about starting our own school, I put my hand up and said, oh, that's what I'd really like to do. So our little school, Chaeli Cottage Preschool, is 10 years old. We started with 3 disabled children in one room. And we realized very quickly that we weren't really following our own ethos by having a school just for children with disabilities. So the children were great, and I actually shared the teaching with Anne Grobler and kind of got to know how it works to work with children with disabilities, because my first real experience had been with Chaeli. I mean, obviously in mainstream, you do come across ADHD or children whose sight is not that great, but you don't really come across what I would maybe call real disability, real physical disability, or even intellectual. So we started looking around at ways that we could actually make our school inclusive, because we really felt that children should learn together. Able-bodied children should learn side by side with children with disabilities, because they've got so much to teach each other. And that's been quite a journey, actually, because in the beginning, people saw us as a school for children with disabilities and felt, oh no, I can't send my able-bodied child there, because what are they going to learn? Are they even going to do schoolwork, kind of thing? So we found our first able-bodied child was the cousin of one of the disabled children. And from there we've grown. We've had brothers and sisters come to the same school. And that's amazing, because in most schools, if you are disabled, you can't go to the same school as your able-bodied siblings. And there's no better environment than an inclusive environment. If you come to our little school, you will see inclusion being lived. We don't teach inclusion, we live inclusion, and the children actually absorb it through osmosis. We don't have to say to them, go and play with Emily who's in a wheelchair. They want to play with her. We have children who are completely non-verbal, and they are just as much a part of the school as any other child. So I don't know, it's just the most amazing environment. We are registered for 25 children, happily registered. That only happened about 2 weeks ago to get our piece of paper. It's a very long journey to be registered, especially if you're registering as an inclusive school. It took us over 5 years to be registered, but happily we have our piece of paper now. One of our biggest challenges is still to maintain that balance between our numbers, so that we have, ideally, we'd like 50-50, able-bodied, children with disabilities. The bottom line is, and the reality is, there's a much greater need for schools for children with disabilities. There's just not enough happening out there. So we do have children on our waiting list, and we have to try and sort of keep places for able-bodied children, because we don't want to go back to being a school for disabled children. We always want to have that inclusive environment. So we are registered for 25. We kind of hover around 20. We have 2 teachers. 3 of our children come with their own facilitators who cater specifically to their physical needs. And then we are very blessed. 3 times a week, we have therapists. So we have a speech therapist, we have an occupational therapist, and we have a physiotherapist. And they work with us as teachers. and they work with the children. It's not, they don't take children for therapy. They work in the classroom situation with the children. I feel like they've made us into honorary therapists, because when I started in the disabled world, I did not even know that children have specially fitted wheelchairs. I thought you got a wheelchair and that was that. And now I can look at a child and think, oh my goodness, this child's not sitting properly. And I can do some kind of physio stuff. So I feel like the therapists have really empowered us as teachers, so that on the days that they're not there, we still have a therapeutic environment. And yeah, they're amazing. We couldn't really run the school we do. Well, I shouldn't say really. We couldn't run the school we do without having our therapists having their input as well. So our school is a preschool. We take children from 3. Our able-bodied children do grade R with us, and then they go on to grade 1. And we've sent them on to schools like Redham, Rustenburg Girls' Schools, Wynberg, Timer Hall, Plumstead Prep, all over the place. And then our children with disabilities, we keep a little bit longer, and we help the parents to place them in special needs schools or special care centers. But we find by the time the children are about 8, it's actually time for them to move on, because they've outgrown the program and they're just getting too big. So, but I don't know if you know anything about trying to get children into special needs schools. It is a long process. Waiting lists are very long. It can take 2 to 3 years, even longer, to actually get a child placed. So we try and help the parents to kind of expedite that process. We've got some quite nice relationships now with some of those schools. And yeah, so that's quite a journey for the parents as well. Otherwise, we run, for want of a better word, a perfectly normal preschool where the children come in. We have a theme for the week. We paint, we sing, we dance. We have volunteers coming to the school to help us. We've just said goodbye to our music therapy student today, which has been absolutely incredible. We go on outings. We've just had our concert. Everything is exactly what happens in any other school. So it's my happy place. I mean, I've taught for, I'll give away my age now, but qualified more than 40 years ago. And these last 10 years have been the best teaching years of my life. And I thought I was pretty happy in mainstream, and I was. But wow, to work in this kind of environment and to work with these amazing people, and it just makes my heart so happy. To get up in the morning and want to go to work is amazing. It's not work. We have fun, we play, and yeah. So that's us in a nutshell. People are welcome to come and visit, come and see us, see the work that we do, meet our beautiful children. Yeah, just get in touch with us and you're more than welcome to visit. Thank you. So must I hand over to Zelda, or are you, Chaeli?
Well, I don't know what's happening.
You can.
I think about your mother, Chaeli.
Yes.
I think, like, just as a quick side note, I think the best thing is that our headquarters, like the admin headquarters for the Chaeli campaign, are next door to the preschool. And so we get, every day we hear like preschool joy. And it's just wonderful. So I'm gonna hand over to my mama, who runs the show, and I think Mom has some really cool things to say. I'm gonna let her just say the things. And then yeah.
Thank you, Michaela.
Yeah.
Thanks, Kales. Just by means of introduction, I'm Zelda Mycroft. I wear many, many hats. I'm the CEO of the Chaeli campaign, plus 3 other subsidiary organizations that we have. In my previous life, I used to teach high school English. And then also my mom's hat is probably the hat I claim more often, or most often, because I reckon that the privilege of being a mother kind of equips you for all the other things that come your way. So all of those things have made me into the inclusion activist that I feel that I've become. A couple of things around the ethos of the Chaeli campaign is the idea that Chaeli touched on, where we don't feel that our mission is to support as many people a year as possible. It's to support meet one person, one child at their point of need, and to grow the layers of their life. So Chaeli mentioned it in terms of her life and how that caused she was a catalyst, and what she needed was a catalyst to the way in which our programs were grown. But I'd like to turn it the other way, saying everything is child-centered. And I'd like to give you an example, maybe. If you look at somebody like the beautiful Kudzai, we met him when he was 6 years old. Wheelchair user, no spoken language the way you and I speak, cerebral palsied. His constrictures are so extreme that he now is only peg fed through a peg, just liquids. He's now 17 years old. So if you think of somebody who is really severely disabled, cannot communicate in the way that we're accustomed to communicating, his whole feeding regime is so taxing. This young man is super bright. So through these years, how has interacting with the Chaeli campaign actually helped Kudzai? First of all, Kudzai started coming to dance. He's a wheelchair dancer with us. Chaeli also coaches the wheelchair dancing. Every Sunday, Kudzi's there. At one point, you must know that Kudzai is like, Chaeli, I don't want to be mean, but because of his constrictures and his vicious, uncontrolled spasms, we decided that would be a good idea for him to be in charge of his own mobility. So we gave him Chaeli's old dancing wheelchair, motorized.
A little bit of a hazard.
He has broken doors, he's broken shins, but the important thing was Kudzai has the potential to learn how to use his spasms to make his own mobility choices. And he now dances very beautifully at the age of 17 in a motorized wheelchair. We helped him raise funds for his motorized wheelchair. We helped him raise funds one Christmas ago for his eye gaze computer, where his eyes, with his eyes, he looks on a computer screen, types out the message, and the computer speaks his own words. So he had to wait 15 years before he could actually speak to us in the way we understand. So I often ask the question, good Lord, who's to blame? We the ones that don't understand. He's communicating perfectly in his way. We need to get on board and learn a little more into his world. So he now communicates via eye gaze and the computer. We are currently helping him to fundraise for an implanted baclofen pump, which will help him. It will put just the right amount of medication into his system every number of hours to counteract his spasms, so that his arms have got more function, so that he can actually sleep with his body at rest and sleep properly. There's also a chance that if we get this right, that he might be able to eat solids again. He has also done 2 cycle tours as a buggy cyclist. He has also just done his first Cape Town Marathon as an adaptive runner. His mom runs our virtual parent support group every 2 weeks, and his dad is an ambassador's facilitator for 4 different schools. Now, I don't think I need to tell you anything more about our work other than somebody like Kudzai and his family embodies the ethos of us wanting to empower and create an opportunity for disabled children and their families to recognize their own power, for that disabled child to be a catalyst in their family and in their community, and then for most of our work to happen with non-disabled people, because that's where the actual change needs to happen. That's where the change for inclusion needs to happen. It's not, hey, it's not the disabled people fighting. It is that too, but it's not just the disabled people fighting and saying, hey, I have a right to be included. This is my right. Make space. Here I come. It's for non-disabled majorities to have a look at this and think, oh my gosh, how can we learn something that only this human being can teach us? And when Chaeli went to a mainstream school, into Debbie's class, that was always my thing. You are not making space for Chaeli in a class of 30, for her to have that opportunity. What's happening is you are creating space for Chaeli to go into a class of 30 so that she can positively impact the life philosophy of the other 30 kids in her class. And just saying that, it's quite crazy. Just saying that makes me quite emotional. After all this time, I still want to cry when I say it, because I believe it so strongly that often in the world, people see children of disabilities, adults, youth with disabilities being in need of our help. And they don't realize that we need them in our lives to help ourselves, because we are enriched. We really find the better parts of ourselves when we overcome our fear of shutting out people we don't understand, who we're scared to connect with, because so many reasons. Fear stands in the way of inclusion, and I think that applies to all forms of inclusion, but particularly people who don't look the same, don't sound the same, who don't move the same, but in actually engaging and effectively engaging and communicating and opening up your heart and your mind and your hands to disabled people, it's just such an enriching experience. And that's me done.
So I want to come in here, Zelda, because we have had that experience as a family. When Helen joined your ambassadors program, it changed her life in so many ways. And I look at the 24-year-old woman that she has become, and I definitely know that her involvement and exposure to Chaeli at a young age contributed to her, very loving and kind heart, because she was, it was an experience that we couldn't give that to her, but Chaeli could. Mm-hmm. So thank you so much, Zelda. You've definitely touched me when you were speaking, and I'm sure Chaeli wants to respond as well, but let's just also hear whether anybody else, so lots of people are listening, cameras are off. We'd love to hear your thoughts or responses to what you've heard from Zelda and Debbie and Chaeli and Weto. And if you are able to switch your video on, it's always so nice to see a face. So anybody want to respond to anything you've heard so far? We would love to hear your voices, see your faces. So much nicer to know that there's someone on the other side of the words on the screen. Let's just hear, Chaeli, when you were listening while we're waiting for people to, Marianne has just switched on her phone. Let's hear, Marianne, any thoughts or response to what you've heard so far?
I want to say that you are absolutely right, Zelda, that inclusion is the way to go. I'm not a Cape Townian, but when we moved to Cape Town, my daughter, who had a hearing disability, was placed in Tafelberg School. Now, she'd come from Cape Recife School in PE, which is a cerebral palsy school. So she lands at Tafelberg, and her first words to me were, "Mom, but this isn't a special needs school because nobody has cerebral palsy there." And she was so acclimatized to just having these amazing people surrounding her in PE that it took her so long to acclimatize to Tafelberg being a learning disability, not a physical disability. And I just tip my hat to all of you.
Thanks, man. I think it's awesome when people share their disability stories, because everybody has one. You know, I think not just like everybody knows somebody who has a disability, but everybody's been in a situation where you've been an idiot around a disabled person. Like, everybody has had a really awkward experience and like not been really uncomfortable and not knowing what to do. And if I think what's and honestly, like, sometimes it's fun. Sometimes it's fun as a disabled person to create awkward situations, because it's not hard. And I think it's a little form of activism that we don't use all the time. You know, that you can make people think about things without even saying anything. You just occupy space loudly, and you just kind of look at people. And I've done it before with friends of mine who I deeply love, and they would say something and I would say nothing, and they would be like, what? And I'm like, no, I'm just giving you a minute. I'm giving you a minute to kind of realize yourself. And I think it's for me as a disabled person, I think as much as it's important for non-disabled people to be accommodating and make space and all those good things, we also need to make space for people to not know what they're doing. We don't know what we're doing. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just figuring it out as we go. And I think we're kind of placed on this pedestal of like, because you live with it, you're supposed to have all the answers. And we don't until you live through something, and then you learn, like, oh wait, that's the way to do it. Okay. And I think making space for that and making space for learning as well as a disabled person. We're not just here to educate the world about living as a disabled person. But I think one thing that came to my mind when Mom was talking about Kutsi was that there's also, I think, there's an inherent knowledge that you have as disabled people that you share with other disabled people. That's like, it's like a Bluetooth situation where, like, oh, I see you, I know what you're doing, okay. And I think Mom speaks a lot about like when Kutsi started doing the dancing in the motorized chair, and it was wild. People had to like get out of the way and just be aware. But the way that we engaged with that was that he was learning, and we don't moan at Josh, who is completely blind. We don't moan at him when he dances into a person because he can't see them. We can't moan at Kutsi right now because he's figuring out how to get his body to do what he needs it to do. And we need to give him a moment to learn that process. And I think people kind of, when he was doing the things, I think it was an interesting thing for me to also learn. Actually, I know a lot about disabled bodies, and I could see what he was trying to do, and I could be like, well, could you maybe if you put your arm like this, and we can do it like this, then maybe that will work better. And it was a whole conversation that we had to have between me and Kudzi and Ellen, his mom, because Ellen kept saying, Kudzi, calm down, just relax. And I'm like, he can't relax, he has to work. And it's relaxing your body as a physically disabled person is not the solution to getting things done. You need to get it to work in the way, in the direction that you want it to be working. And sometimes to make that happen, you have to make your body work in the opposite direction first. And I think you only learn that through experiencing it. And one other thing about Kudzi, stop talking because he's phenomenal. And he's sassy and he knows exactly what he wants to say. And if you don't understand, he's gonna keep going until you understand. Because that's a you problem. And I always thought that like when I did the marathons and things, I can find my mom anywhere.
This is so mean of you, Chaeli.
No, it's good. So I can find her anywhere because she has like Katie's finishing a race pitch.
It's a dolphin squeal.
So I can locate her wherever she is. And I just thought that that was like a Zelda thing. But it's not a Zelda thing, it's a disabled mom thing because Ellen, Kitsa's mom, is exactly the same. On all the videos, you hear her and you hear my mom, and it's the same beautiful picture of her.
So Zelda, I see you've unmuted, so I'm assuming you want to say something because I want to just quickly respond to Josephine's message and then also show that video of Archbishop Tutu. But did you want to say something before we do that?
Just in closing quickly, I wanted to say that something that Chaeli has just said that sparked an idea of what we're good at with the work that we do at the Chaeli campaign. It's not doing stuff with and for people, it's inviting people along for the ride. That there's a constant invitation that non-disabled people come and do stuff with disabled people and with us so that they can fully understand our joy with what we're doing, but also find their own joy in that. And then I'm going to just very briefly speak about something that Chaeli always says, where you are often asked in no matter what form of advocacy and activism you do, you're always asked to be an ally. But being an ally means that you can be a silent ally. You can be somebody who is a silent supporter, but you're still an ally. So Chaeli always says, we do not, well, you didn't, you stole it from someone else, but you say it all the time in speeches, and I think it's an amazing thing. So we always retell the story that you don't want any disability or ability allies. We want accomplices, because you need to get active, you need to be involved, you need to get into action. So we, rather than allies, we're looking for accomplices out there. Over to you, Louise.
Fantastic. So I want to invite you to read the messages shared by Josephine and Guy. Recently, I posted a picture of Chaeli on Twitter, and a guy from, I can't remember, Zambia or someone, somewhere send me a note saying, I have a disabled daughter and I want nothing more than that face with that big smile for my daughter. So Chaeli, your smile has been infectious. It's inspiring us. We want to end in two ways. We want to, I want to share you just an endorsement from Archbishop Tutu. And then I want to invite anybody who want to share their appreciation with Chaeli to do that via the chat, or to, if you want to do it verbally, then we'll give you a few minutes to do that at the end. But let's just enjoy seeing the arch and his beautiful smile. And we've got 1 minute, 1.5 minutes of doing that, and then we'll end with just a few appreciations. So here is the arch.
I'm thrilled to endorse the work done by the Chaeli campaign. Here's an organization founded by a child which firmly believes in the power of hope and the strength and resilience of the children of South Africa. An organization providing our country's future leaders with opportunities to grow, to learn, and to thrive, teaching both disabled and able-bodied youngsters to see beyond ability, race, and gender, standing up for the rights of our most marginalized and disenfranchised children, growing an inclusive society that celebrates difference. I support such a splendid instrument as the Chaeli campaign and encourage you to do so too. Chaeli is a fantastic, inspiring person. God bless you.
A vitamin B deficiency.
That is so beautiful. And I'm sure we were all that's such a beautiful way to be acknowledged. I do want to end with just hearing from one or two people who were inspired by what they heard this afternoon, to just unmute yourself and to share your thoughts as we close the session. So, I mean, I can wax lyrically, but this is not about me speaking. I want to hear a few other voices. So Guy or Josephine or Lena, Mary Ann. Guy, we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, I just think it's absolutely fantastic. I've been fortunate enough to meet Shona MacDonald, who's got a fantastic story and past, and I get emotional when I am with Shona, and see what she does with wheelchairs and what she's done with her social entrepreneurship. So it's really looking at the holistic development. I take my hat off to you, Chaeli. Strength with what you're doing, and may you go from strength to strength. And let's create a normal society by having an inclusive program. Thanks.
And Guy, if you want to be inspired, you missed my pitch earlier. Chaeli's book, Unapologetically Able, is definitely worth reading. And she's writing a second book, because she's also writing about climbing Kilimanjaro, because that's going to be the second book. But if you want to be inspired, this book is amazing. It's available from Take a Lot. Josephine, we'd love to hear from you.
Well done.
Josephine? No, it looks like Josephine's not able to speak. Josephine, are you able to speak? No, look like she's not able to speak, so I'll mute her. Anybody else want to say anything, any kind of final words of appreciation for what you've heard this afternoon? Or any final thoughts from, who had unmuted? Any final thoughts from Chaeli or Zelda or Debbie or Weto? Just if you wanted to unmute yourself, Zelda.
Of course, I'm going to have a final thought. It's actually an invitation. Just once again to echo Debbie's invitation to come and visit us at our headquarters in Plumstead and come and visit our preschool. I've put our website's addresses on the chat. And then as the 2011 International Children's Peace Prize winner, Chaeli has been invited to hand over the 2022 award on Monday, the 14th, next Monday in The Hague. So she'll be doing a presentation, a speech there. It's always handed over by a Nobel Peace Prize winner. So it's Tawakkol Karman this year. So if anybody wants to actually watch that, they can go and have a look at the Kids' Rights org. The link hasn't been made known yet. So they can have a look at the Kids' Rights Foundation website or Facebook page. And then Louise, I'll also send through the link as soon as we have it, if anybody wants to check that out. Normally it's around 2 o'clock on, will be on Monday the 14th, but that would be a live link then as well.
Fantastic. Thank you. That's amazing to hear that Debbie is going to, Chaeli, are you physically flying to The Hague, Chaeli? Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. How wonderful is that? Debbie, I see you unmuted. Did you want to share?
Yes, I just want to say that I live the Chaeli campaign every day, but I still feel amazed at what Chaeli does and what Zelda does and Allway and all the people I work with. So it's actually been great to be part of this and to just kind of hear it again, because you kind of in it and you're doing your day-to-day stuff, and this has been absolutely amazing. So thanks for inviting us, and thank you, Chaeli. Thank you, Allway. Zelda seems to have disappeared, but I'll see you tomorrow. So yeah, it's been a great afternoon. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, and I hope that those who were unable to join today will definitely watch the video. So, Kales, you've got the last final word.
Yes, so just a big thank you to everybody for being here and watching the replay. If you're watching the replay, I think my mom says her computer died. She apologizes. But I think what the takeaway for me from this whole conversation is that, like, a lot of people give me the credit because I'm the disabled one, and I'm the one living with the disability in my body. And I think what we really need to take away from this conversation specifically is that, yeah, it's mine, but I share it with everybody else. And I think everybody who works with us is phenomenal. However they got to us is like part of the journey, and I really think that we have a phenomenal team that is committed to creating the inclusive society that we strive for. And I think what's beautiful about our work is that everyone's doing it in their own way, and I think that's what we need to do in the disabled disability community. Like, welcome welcome to the community, and let's start doing the things, because there's a lot to do, and we can all do something. And I'm just very privileged and grateful that I get to do it with the team that we have. So thank you also, Louise, for this opportunity to share our work and to have these conversations and to meet these awesome people as well. So
fantastic. Thank you, Kales. And I see Lena's just saying thank you for the opportunity to attend. She feels inspired. There's a note from Josephine to say how inspired she is. So I think everybody who heard you and met the team are inspired and ready to make the most of the lives we live. Thanks, Chaeli. It's lovely to see you, and everybody else have a wonderful rest of your afternoon, and we will send the recording soon.